say something very, very important, which was pretty much that he knew about Trump knew about the email dump ahead of time before it happened. Roger Stone told him about it. What is the significance of that, Glenn, for the broader investigation?
Well, it's significant because Trump never admitted that, at least publicly. And so now there's a lot of questions swirling about whether, in his written answers to Mueller, whether he came clean on that or whether he continued to lie. And I guess a lot of that has to do with whether he came clean to his lawyers, because if he told his lawyers the truth, Trump did, they certainly would not have let him lie in his written answers. So yeah, that's significant, and it's important that the public knows that. There was another little tantalizing thing where Cohen said that he wasn't sure, but that he might have known about the Trump Tower meeting in advance as well. When Don Jr. Went into his office when Cohen was there, I guess this was in Trump Tower, sometime back in June of 2016. And Don Jr. kind of whispered something in his ear, but Cohen overheard what he said, and it was something to the effect that the meeting is set up or it's ready to go. And Trump responded, "Okay, keep me up to date or informed or whatever." And Cohen didn't exactly know what that was about, especially at the time. But looking back on it, he's wondering if that was about the Trump Tower meeting.
Yeah, so again, obviously it's kind of word of mouth proof. Obviously, not that much of a big deal, but still, you can only imagine the mind goes to certain places when you hear information like that. So yeah, Cohen said the president also had firsthand knowledge of the payment made to Stormy Daniels just before Election Day 2016, as they were part of obviously hush money payments for talking about cheating on Melania at the time. Acting at the president's direction, he said, he procured a home equity loan payment to Daniels for $130,000. Cohen also gave the committee documentary evidence a copy of a check dated August 1st, 2017, for $35,000 from Trump's personal bank account that bore Trump's signature. Obviously, that was part of an 11 installment payment of 35, I guess, as time wore on, stretching into his presidency. So, does this make the case stronger here for the Southern District of New York to kind of investigate Trump for being wrapped up in and ordering the same crime that they indicted Cohen on?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I think probably SDNY has had these checks for a long time now, and probably when Cohen was charged for the election finance fraud, they knew all about Trump's involvement, and that's why he was mentioned as individual one, and that he was a kind of a co-conspirator to this whole issue. So yeah, I think if he wasn't the president, he'd be charged with the same crime that Michael Cohen was charged with, a felony charge on this election finance law.
Also, kind of in kind of coupling with that, Cohen said that the president directed him to lie about Trump's knowledge of the payment to Stormy Daniels. But I mean, I don't know what you thought of that, because he said kind of in a way that Trump hinted at me to possibly lie, maybe through like certain actions and cues that he did, in an attempt to kind of get the story straight. Like, what was your opinion on that? When he said that he knew that Trump wanted him to lie to Congress about this statement, but Trump never actually explicitly came out and said it.
You're talking about the Trump Tower Moscow deal?
Yeah, the Trump Tower Moscow deal. Yeah.
Yeah. He said that he did talk to the president prior to that testimony, and that Trump didn't expect him to lie, but that he said things like, he says in public, like, this is a witch hunt and there's no collusion and none of this is true. And he was kind of, what Cohen got from that was that he wanted Trump wanted him to kind of parrot those phrases and not spill anything about the Trump Tower Moscow deal or anything else that he might have known about possible collusion with the Russians. And I gathered from that knowing Trump as well as Michael Cohen did after working for him for 10 years, he kind of implicitly got the message of what Trump wanted him to do, even if Trump didn't, actively direct him to do certain things in so many words.
Yeah, that definitely seems like it's a plausible situation, but it kind of does give a little bit of victory, in my view, to the Republicans who are coming out and saying, well, he didn't actually say it, and it didn't actually order Trump to lie to Congress. But would that kind of in a possible investigation, that would, just correct me if I'm wrong, because that would fall under the Trump Tower Moscow deal. Would that be Mueller or Southern District of New York?
I imagine that would be Mueller.
Yeah, so would that kind of give Trump... Would that give Mueller the kind of the proof he needed to get Trump in trouble for ordering Cohen to lie to Congress? Just Cohen's testimony alone, or he'll probably need something more, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I don't think that Mueller could go just on Cohen's word, even if the president did tell him to lie about the Trump Tower Moscow. So I don't know that it matters that much.
Yeah.
He did want to meet with him before the testimony, and I don't exactly know what Michael Cohen said back to the president. Whether he assured him of anything. I guess that wasn't even asked today at today's testimony, although maybe I missed it. But I would have liked to learn more details about that interaction, that conversation. And I haven't read too much about it in the papers either.
Yeah, that would be kind of a really kind of crucial interaction. Another pretty crucial interaction on the Trump Tower Don Jr. meeting was that we referred to before, was that kind of discussion that you talked about, where the kind of the whispering over in the ear of Don Jr. to Cohen. And so Cohen also suggested that, again, Trump knew about that meeting. Another big thing that he did was he added that Trump knew in advance that WikiLeaks were going to, again, divulge thousands of stolen emails from the Democrats. And probably, I heard on MSNBC that this would be probably the biggest legal thing for Trump to face, because he said to Mueller that he did not know ahead of time, and that Stone did not tell him that the WikiLeaks emails were coming ahead of time. So that would be obviously lying to Robert Mueller, which many of his friends have gotten in trouble for. And yeah, so according to Cohen, Trump responded when Stone told him, "Wouldn't that be great?" So yeah, where does this kind of leave Trump here at this point? Does it go deeper than lying to Mueller, or does it kind of get at the broader case for collusion?
Yeah, this kind of touches on collusion, depending on what the president did. I mean, I think in the one of the Stone indictments, even though Stone wasn't charged on anything to do with collusion, I think there was a write-up in there about how someone high up in the campaign directed Stone to go back to WikiLeaks and either ask them or tell them. No, I think it was an ask of what kind of damaging information they had on Hillary Clinton. And those kinds of things really brush up against collusion. And there was speculation that this person who was high up in the campaign was the president himself. And now we know that, according to Cohen, that Stone talked to him on the phone days before the Democratic National Convention, where Stone told him that a dump was imminent in the next few days, and he knew this because he had just talked to Julian Assange. and Cohen overheard this discussion because he was in the office with Trump, and Trump had Stone on the telephone on a speakerphone.
Yeah, so then the thing that would obviously go from there to kind of like prove the whole collusion aspect was, did Trump know that, or did Trump order or in some way make happen the email dump that Cohen overheard Stone talking to Trump about? So what do we learn from the testimony about that, the likelihood of that happening?
Nothing really. I think what's more likely is that the dump in October, after the big day where the Access Hollywood thing broke open, on that day the Podesta emails were dumped. Uh-huh. And the timing of that is very curious because it doesn't seem as likely that the Russians would decide to do that on their own. It seems more likely that that idea would come from the Trump campaign to try to change the subject of the day. But Cohen had nothing on that, and we haven't heard any real solid reporting that suggests that the Trump campaign was behind that. But it's possible that Mueller has more, and we just don't know. And
that would kind of be about like the big contention debate, like in the past few months, was, did Roger Stone have any contacts with Julian Assange at WikiLeaks, and what were they? So I think it's certainly a very possible scenario that like November or October 9th or whatever, or 10th or 11th, whenever this Podesta dump starts, like Cohen DMs Julian Assange, or not Cohen, Stone DMs Julian Assange and comes out and says, would you start releasing these emails, please? We have a problem, and we need you to kind of take the heat off of us,
right,
for a certain second. But obviously, that's only up for Mueller to know at this point, and something that Cohen really wasn't able to provide that much information on today.
Yeah. I mean, you have to wonder, who the FBI is surveilling. I mean, it seems to make sense that they would have Assange's line at the embassy surveilled at all times, and his cell phone, and that the FBI has all of Assange's telephone or text interactions with just about anybody. So if this direction did come from the Trump campaign, I'm guessing that Mueller would know it or not, or he would know whether they did it or not.
So that's going to be a very kind of probably one of the bigger things. Probably doesn't go fully at collusion, but it certainly would be pretty damning if that were turned out to be true. So, interesting context here that Cohen provided today was the role of a fixer. And that idea kind of, obviously it's about organized crime and the backroom deals and smoke rooms and all that stuff like that. But Cohen also provides some pretty critical light to members of Congress about the concept of catch and kill, which is stopping the negative article before it's published, in this case by working with the company that owns National Enquirer, David Pecker. Other duties said writing threatening letters to schools, warning them against the release of Trump's academic records, and paying off women with compromising information about the presidential candidate, saying, that was my job, always stay on message, always defend, it monopolized my life, about working as a fixer for Donald Trump. And yeah, that was probably some of the most remarkable parts. And what I thought it was interesting, really, how it kind of sometimes strayed away from Russia or Stormy Daniels and all the other legal problems that Trump has, to being a lot more about kind of things that Trump did that are kind of more like juicier, as opposed to less legal but more juicy for people to come in and like look at and say, oh, that's such a crazy thing that you did, Trump, or what about, I can't believe you did this. Like, for example, we'll get to some in a moment, but like, what do you think of that in general? Do you think it helped or hurt the testimony today?
Yeah, I mean, we know so much about Trump already if you've been paying attention to the news, right? And it's possible that there are a number of Americans out there who haven't been paying that much attention to this whole Russia investigation. But they happened to tune in today because they heard it was big news that Cohen was going to testify, and they might have been just curious